About 2 weeks ago, Molly and I got the chance to join a few other Star Wars podcasts at Lucasfilm, which was amazing. We're gonna do a vlog about the whole trip, but part of it was the opportunity to chat with Tony Gilroy, the showrunner for Andor. It was awesome, being able to ask him about the series and even joke around with him a little bit, so here is that talk. I hope you enjoy.
So you're all, did you guys, who are you? All right, so fire away. What's unexplained that you want to know? What don't you know that you want to know?
Well, I'll start and just ask, how are you? Because you've been doing a lot of press for
I'm
Andor.
done today, kind of done.
Really?
Yeah, it's been an amazing couple months. We all feel that way. Everybody in the whole, because we've been together and we're all texting with each other. I'm like, God, did you see this? And holy cow.
Do you have like an interview or like a press event that you've done so far that you got really excited to meet that person?
I did one with Colbert. But I had a little too much to drink that night, so it was late and a long day, and I went and had dinner with my kids, and I went there and I had another beer, and it was a little looser than I wanted. But it was fun to be. I know him a little bit. It was fun to be with him. All right, I know you got some like what happened here questions. Go for it. I know there's some stuff. Yeah, like where's the problem?
Alex, you look like you have.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So one of my personal favorite moments of the entire series is the moment Cassian and Bix had with the Force Healer.
Right.
And can you just touch on the conception of that scene and then also how you approach bringing in the concept of the Force into a grounded show like Andor?
The first season, I think I was probably pretty adamant that I wasn't going to do any Force. It was kind of like our mandate. We're not doing Force. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. But I think two things happened. One, you spend a lot of time. I mean, you'd be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the people on the show really, they check out what's happening online. You can get overwhelmed, but people check it out. And it seemed, I thought if there was a way to do it that fit our vocabulary on the show, that it was really, the effort should be made to try to do it. Because so many people cared about it. And it also coincided with my emerging realization that Cassian is pretty destined. There's a destiny there. In the very first episodes, when we did, when he gets captured by when he lands in the Maya Pei Brigade takes him over, we had a lot of, what planet is that going to be? And there was another planet, an interim planet where he was going to go, and they were going to send there was a couple other things that were going to happen there, but that money was tight at that point. We were overstuffed at that point. So it was like, well, you can't have that other planet. And so what planet are we going to do? And Luke and I are like, well, what should we do? Where should we go? And I think I called Pablo and was like, Moen says there's nobody on Yavin now 5 years earlier, that no one's there. And Pablo confirmed that it was, I said, so what's it like? He goes, well, the temples are there, and there are these animals there, these beasts that are there, but no one's there at this point. So we're like, all right, let's be on Yavin the whole way, and then we'll have the last shot where you pull out and you realize you're there. That'll be a really good thrill for the audience. So, but then when you add that to his list of events that he's at Aldani, he's here and there, it starts to look a little, the destiny part was really sort of singing, So that's why I did it. We really wanted to do it very carefully. The inspiration from it is from Ghost, probably. I remember Ghost is when Whoopi Goldberg is the psychic she was a psychic at one point, but she's obviously a fraud at this point. She's given up and she's just this grifter. And Patrick Swayze goes up there and like all of a sudden that her original talent is activated a little bit. So I love that scene. I love that idea. So the idea of someone, we want to also, you want scenes to do everything. So you want to show how Yavin's growing, and you want to say, oh, there's a catering truck, and there's people that do all this work, and they clean up, and there's, dinner and all this, and there's a moot, and people wander around. And so it did all those things, and that's how we tiptoed into it.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the background. A lot of welding.
We're always trying to do many things at once.
Yeah.
Love how fleshed out like Yavin
Really everywhere feels, and you've said there have been like 400 speaking parts on the show. Right. And Star Wars fans we love our like side and background characters, our small bit parts. And you made like dozens of new fan favorites. So how do you make such compelling
characters when they only have a few minutes of screen time and like just a handful of lines. Like I'm in love with Thela, the bellhop. He's
Well,
awesome.
that's not a small part.
I mean,
no, I know,
that's
but yeah,
like-
no, I mean, that's the job. I mean, Zana would just groan. I would turn in pages and we would do some more characters, and they're very. I think they're very helpful for me to tell the story. I can move. I think I'm cheating a lot. I'm telling a lot of story through day players, but there's no point in having them if they. What's it? I don't know. One that comes to the guy who does the guy who's operating the video cameras in the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to have a scene. And Hirt is there, and we've spent a little bit of time with Hirt, but we haven't really established his authority so much. So I got to do that, and I got to do a scene. I mean, it's in it's in 28 Bourne movies. It's in every other movie. Got to do the screens where they find the thing, and I got to hide that this is a boring. This is a stock scene. So I better, So I need life. So I need this creepy dude who's down there who hasn't cleaned up, and no one ever comes down there, and and don't sit there. That's the key line that makes that work. It's like, oh no, I don't sit there. You like, what's on that chair? What's happened there? And then he comes to life, and that's. And you want to always be like that. I always want it to be like that.
Well, something you don't see from watching it, but that I found was interesting when reading the scripts, is that you also name most of these characters.
Naming things is really. We found. I think on this project in general, I think we have to build so many things. Everything we do, every planet, every ship, everything, every scene, everything. Naming things is really important. If you name it, it suddenly gets easier to do it. So I got really good at Star Wars names. Really good at it.
They'll all end up in a book somewhere.
Yes.
Several books somewhere.
Probably working on it right now.
Yeah.
Full plug, yeah.
So what was your creative process for naming Star Wars characters? Because you've got, Dedra Miro, Edie Carnes, so some amazing ones.
Luthen Rail. No, I know. But you get on a streak. I get on a streak where I could do a whole bunch at once. And sometimes you sit and you're just like, you're not in the mood, or it's not happening. And the right moment, the right time of day. It's not like other writing, so it can be a different, Yeah, I would do them in bursts. And when you get them, when you get them. Yeah.
Was there a character that was really hard to name?
Trying to think of a name that didn't work. If it didn't work, I got rid of it, and we swapped it out. I mean, and then, and the different names. Tom Bissell's daughter, when Tom Bissell came on, Tom Bissell's just so sweet, and his daughter was just so obsessed with Star Wars, and she's like 7 or 8 years old, but just obsessed. And her name is Mina, so she became Mina Rao. And my daughter is Catherine, but when she was little, she used to say her name Catherine, so she's the Ring of Catherine. And I don't know, there's things all the way through. Sometimes it's that, but and if someone has an idea, sometimes I'll do it.
Turn in love with Femo.
Well, that's my son's dog's name. Yeah. So B2EMO. Yeah. But that was really designed to be a dog. That I really worked. That was a super conscious effort. Yeah. You just get on a roll. You get better at it too. If you do it, you do a couple days in a row, you'll see you get better at it. You've probably done it. I never use a generator or anything. I know there are generators. I never use a generator.
I know historically a lot of Star Wars names will just be like temporizations of the actors' names. Like they just jumbled the letters.
Oh, I know what. And I like Tim with 2 M's.
Yeah.
All right, two M's, and Marva 2 A's.
Yeah. How do I make this Star Warsy? Add an extra letter.
I've seen people complain about that. And Edie has 2 E's. It's like, okay, some of that. Yeah.
Maybe are you switching gears a little bit? I'm getting a little spicy. I know, like in the interview with Colbert, you were talking about how you could speak about fascism. I think that's obviously a extremely interesting and relevant topic. And one of the things that fascists historically do to, subject and oppress is to silo the set and keep everyone separated so that they can come together and rise up against whatever system of control is there. And Denise Goff was talking about how the Empire is a gang and rebels are tribes. So I was wondering, like, as you were writing season 1 and into season 2, and you're talking about the Gorman Front, the Neo-Republicans, the Partisan Alliance, like, how are you conceptualizing that distinction, right, of one, the Empire separating all these groups, but then, like, how they come together into, from a group of idiots in the forest to an organized, strong rebellion?
Well, my experience on Rogue one of the I won't go into too much detail, but there's this big scene at the end when they come back to Yavin and Jin is trying to get everybody to, we got to go to Scarif. That big scene with all those people and all the contention that's there. But there's just complete disagreement of that whole huge cast of people, and that's so I know that this coalition is really shaky. I mean, that's and weak and very much in danger. So that's one element. The gang on the Maya Pei Brigade is there because I knew I had this super elegant speech that he's gonna give to Naya at the top, and it's gonna be this really beautiful. And I had written it and was really, I was feeling really good and emotional. And you knew it was going to be really stirring, and it's very sober, and it's a proper speech, and it's at the beginning of the show. I'm not going to put music against it because I want to have everybody think we're going to have a slow burn when I'm not going to have a slow burn. I was like, man, you know what? This is so elegant, and everybody's going to think that the rebellion has really got both feet on the ground and everything's good. And I know that I'm going to get. I know that for most of the show, I'm going to be developing this idea of a degrading coalition, and as Luthen becomes more, as he begins to erode, and the original gangsters get frayed, and I want to have that in microcosm in the beginning, and so let me do the really stupid version. Let me do the idiot's version up top, and just to put it on the table as a little bit of something that'll echo much louder as it goes on later on, and I didn't know what I was doing when I had Saul say all that stuff, but if you're writing well, particularly on this show, if you're writing well, you're laying a lot of ground rules for things or laying a lot of seeds for things you don't know if you're going to come back and pick them up or not. So I don't know what a human cultist is. I can imagine what it is. People are against droids, and I'm sure you could write it if you had to, but I didn't know Maya Pei was just when I went to do the Maya Pei, I goes, oh, I have Maya Pei from when he said before. So I go back and pick up what I did before.
Is there also a part of you when you're planting those seeds that you think, if I don't come back for it, somebody will later? Like somebody will write a book, somebody will write an entry, like you see CD5.
Yes, I feel a lot of people tiptoeing behind me. Yes.
To kind of play off of that a little bit, my day job, I teach middle school history.
Okay.
So I just want to know, like you've said before, you're kind of a popcorn historian.
Yeah.
And that you love to read history books. Yeah. What are some recommendations of history books that you've read?
I think when I was like 14 or 15, I read Stefan Zweig's biography of Marie Antoinette. And then I was like, holy cow, and then the guillotine and the French Revolution. So I read there's probably even 4 or 5 different times in my life where I've gotten really deep on the French Revolution. Some new thing has come out. Hilary Mantel, who did Wolf Hall and all that, probably the greatest book she ever wrote is called A Place of Greater Safety, which is about which is a huge novel about the players at the center of the French Revolution. It's a great book. It's a novel, but it's what's another book? I'll recommend a podcast, the Mike Duncan History of Revolutions, right? I mean, what else is really good? I've been Young Stalin is another book that I read a long time ago, and very much Aldani is not Aldani, not the way it works, but to realize that Stalin's function for Lenin was as an earner. That's why Lenin liked him. Stalin was not an ideologue or anything. He was just a gangster, and he was just really good at putting money on the table. And so there's the opening scene of Young Stalin is this massive multiplayer robbery in this town in Georgia, this bank robbery. And so Luthen's need for money and how revolutions get funded. I stay on the Russian thing. There's an amazing book called The House of Government, which is this guy's life work from Berkeley, and it's about it's a massive book about all the history of the Russian Revolution, but told through the personalities of people who will end up living in that house on the embankment. That there's this huge apartment building that they built. So it's all young people that from all walks of life that make the revolution and come together and fall in love, and it has a lot to do with about how much that sex and love has to do with revolution, how people bond together, and then what happens to them when Stalin turns and most of them end up being executed or tortured and end up in Siberia. That book, I mean, I could go on and on, but I mean that's just a couple. There's no shortage of books about revolution. I went deep on Napoleon. I went deep on Oliver Cromwell. I went deep on Roman history and the Roman Revolution. I mean, the British Revolution is really, the British Revolution is really with the levelers and the Oliver Cromwell. And I mean, I think Marx and Engels thought that was the ultimate revolution. That's the model that they use. It's before the American Revolution. It's really the one that really was the most ideologically, Zapata's fascinating. The Haitian Revolution is a Spartacus. I mean, it's everywhere. It's just nonstop. If you go on Wikipedia, it's like 50 pages of rebellions there.
Star Wars could be just such a gateway for fans into other things like history or mythology.
Right.
Is there anything that you want people who are watching Andor, is there something you'd be like really excited about if you saw that it was being like a gateway for Star Wars fans into other interests?
Oh, I mean, go on Blue Sky right now and pop up latest, and you'll see a whole variety of conversations that I can't even really talk about that are happening. That people having all kinds of discussions from all kinds of different ways. I mean, it's outstripped anything that I would think about. The follow-on conversations are already beyond anything I imagined. It's out there every day.
Yeah.
We noticed a lot of it just like doing what we do on our channel. From the conversations about Andor, a lot of people are like, yeah, it's happening in the real world and here's how. So it's really interesting to see the people that watch us have those real conversations about real events.
Yeah, it's so far outstripped anything that it's gone in every area.
Which I think is so interesting with Andor and with Star Wars. When George Lucas made the original trilogy, he was very much speaking about a very certain point in time, but with, in those in prequels, his messages resonate today in different ways because it's a universal thing he's talking about. And I think, 20 years from now, when people are still watching Andor, they're going to be finding new things, I hope, in what you put on the screen.
I hope. Yeah, I mean, what you really want to do is you want to make something that people can watch over and over again that doesn't get dated, Yeah, I mean, I guess that's, I went and saw Michael Clayton the other night for the first time in 18 years. They had at this video store. We did part of a promotion for Andor there, and they showed and watched it. And like the proudest thing about it is that it doesn't smell stale at all. It feels like it's going to stick around. You want that. That's the most satisfying feeling, I think, that it doesn't get dated.
And I think that was the power, right, of sci-fi, not just for Andor or Star Wars in general. It's just sci-fi is a veneer of hiding and coding of real life and real events and masking it for people to be able to digest better. And I think that's been one of the great gifts of Andor in many ways. Just like things that were already in Star Wars, Andor is kind of like elevated in many ways so that people are talking about it in a different way. Because people, for Return of the Jedi, weren't really talking about the Ewoks are the Vietnamese, right? Right. But now, like, people are having like very in-depth and passionate discussions about how Andor resonates to them, and I think that's something that's been very valuable to me for us as a show, because with Puerto Rico and our history of oppression and colonialism that we're still kind of going through, Andor season 1, and then obviously having a Hispanic lead in Diego was kind of unheard of in many ways.
But as you're aware, it's shocking how many people we could do a whole United Nations resonance tour on this thing. There's a lot of people that can pick out everything that they want to pick out here, which is really, that's been a really good cloak for us to wear as we're going out and selling the show as well. The fact that how universal it is to so many people. It's sad, but true.
I love like what you said, Goose, about using Star Wars or Andor kind of repeating things that Star Wars has always been about. Mon Mothma's speech about the death of truth. Like, you immediately I started thinking about the Clone Wars, and they had these like blue text bubbles that would tell you what the episode was about. And so many of them are about truth and trust. And
really?
Yeah. Like,
that's not on my radar, but yeah. Okay, wow.
It was incredible. Like, everything that Mon Mothma says, I'm like, this is what George Lucas has always said. And
fantastic.
It felt so good to hear that. Yeah.
And I guess like to add to that, it's been, you've been notorious, I think, online during season 1 at least, of not being the biggest fan of Star Wars. And I think, at least my perception in season 2 is that maybe has shifted a little bit.
All I was saying was I hadn't really been participating, but I got 26 hours of Star Wars, man. I mean, what do you got? You know, I mean, I feel like,
Pretty good.
yeah, no, and what I really probably should have said in the beginning, I didn't have the energy to invest any more because it took so much design, imaginative energy just to do all this. It couldn't ever get outside of my 5-year block. So those 5 years is like, I know everything. I'm a fan of those 5 years. It's what's after and what's before that either confuses me or it's not worth my while to get involved in it because it takes me away from what I need to concentrate on. But
After having all that to do in Star Wars, and you've been in it for almost a decade, would you have any advice for any future Star Wars directors or showrunners that are coming into this world?
it's really bothered me. It's bothered everybody on our show all the way through. Anytime they try to make a division between what we're doing and what other people are doing, it's like it's clickbait and it's whatever it is, and it's just like, man, every time we see it, we're like, where's this coming from? And what does that mean? And why are they doing this? And by the same thing, I don't think. I think if I was coming in clean, I wouldn't do anything like this. I'd want to make another land. I think they have some projects, which I get in trouble if I talk about the few that I know about, but they're different. They're different windows. They're different aspects. There's a billion freaking galaxies. I mean, billion beings in that galaxy. You could go anywhere. I mean,
There's so many different flavors of Star
could
Wars.
do any. I mean, I would really hope people wouldn't. I hope the lesson is let your freak flag fly and work your ass off and really go for it. And it's really hard. It's way harder than you think because like Luke and I think we were on the show for like a couple weeks starting out, tiptoeing in, and I think we both called each other one morning and go, we're going to have to design everything. There's nothing you can take for granted. And the moment you realize that, it's just like the floor disappears. You're like, oh my God, how are we going to do it? I think if people have the commitment to the design and commitment to that, they should change the flavor and do whatever they want to do. I hope it works. I don't know.
I think that kind of hits on maybe part of the bedrock of the success of it, because you come in, you don't have to be an expert at this. You just have to know enough to tell the story you want to tell. But then you told a story that is so unique to you, I think, as a storyteller. And I think maybe that's what the next generation, the next people, anybody who wants to be a storyteller at all, just needs to be true to themselves and a story they want to tell.
I was really, through all the doubts I had and all the times I wanted the show to go away and was hoping that COVID would kill it or whatever, that when I was really anxious, because we almost made some really, I mean, if COVID hadn't happened, I think this would be a big disaster story. Through all of that, I was like, wow, no one is ever going to do a show about revolution and fascism and colonialism and imperialism and sacrifice and about people who get ground up and forgotten to make something happen. No one's ever going to get a chance to do that on a scale like this. And I'm really into that opportunity. Someone else has to find another opportunity for themselves that interests them.
Yeah, well said. Do we have one last question to wrap us up?
If I say this is the greatest day of my life, there's a toilet you keep.
Oh my God. That's fantastic. All right, you should close on that. Wow, what a cool conversation. I had no idea what we were going to do. That's fantastic. Really cool to meet you.
I hope you enjoyed that. I know we did. That was Molly and me, along with Goose from Try Out of the Force, Jason from Blast Points, and Alex from Children of the Watch, so check all of them out, and look for a second interview Tony did with our friends from Talking Bay 94, Sky Talkers, and Friends of the Force. I'll link to that in the description as soon as it's out. And subscribe to our channel here to catch more interviews we did with Alan Tudyk, Margit Pfeiffer, and Michael Wilkinson, which are all on the way. If you haven't already, please like this video, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.